getting into it with the Giannis stuff. So this was an excerpt from Mark Stein's newsletter over the weekend, speaking on Giannis getting injured. He's out with a calf injury, but the Bucks continue to slide. They're damn near hovering near the basement of the East, and the Giannis watch continues in terms of what happens to him during the trade deadline. And so, as Mark Stein says, look, a lot of teams are getting involved here and still trying to pitch an offer to the Bucks to pry Giannis away. And according to his newsletter over the weekend, he said one team to look out for as it relates to the Giannis to New York talks is the Portland Trail Blazers. He says Portland is definitely a team to track here when it comes to an eventual Giannis outcomes. No one is suggesting that a trade to the Blazers is a scenario that the Giannis camp would push for, but Portland still controls Milwaukee's draft capital in 28, 29, and 30, thanks to the Jrue Holiday for Dame Lillard swap. And according to Mark Stein, he says, I'm told Blazers officials have always viewed Giannis's potential Milwaukee exit as a chance to improve their own roster by jumping into a multi-team deal. Now, we all know as it relates to the Knicks, that is the help that they're going to need to get to offer Milwaukee a deal that is sufficient to pry Giannis away. And according to Mark Stein, he says there's an absolute down-the-road world where the Blazers could try to get into a Milwaukee and New York Giannis to the Knicks talks. File this away, he says. Portland has long admired the Knicks' Mikal Bridges going back to the Lillard days. So now, as a result of that, Justin, everybody put the tinfoil hats on. They got on the trade machine. And our guys over at the Third Apron, Yossi and Sam Quinn, cooked up a scenario here, man. So, Yossi, I'll let you take it away, man. Let's break down. Which one do you want to break down? Yours or Sam's first?
Let's break down Sam's first.
Yeah, let's go to Sam's first because that one's a little bit safer. All right, so let me pull that one up. So to everybody in the chat, man, let me pull up Sam's tweet here. And this one involving Mikal Bridges. So let me get Sam Quinn, and we'll take a look at his tweet, his scenario here, and then we'll take a look at Yossi's. Okay, so all right, let's break this one down. So we've got the Knicks getting Giannis and Jeremy Grant in a 3-team blockbuster. Going to the Bucks, Karl Anthony Towns, Deuce McBride, Pacome Dadier, the Wizards' first-round pick that the Knicks own, the Blazers' first-round pick via Orlando in 28, a 28 Milwaukee Bucks swap, a 30 Milwaukee Bucks swap going back to Milwaukee from the Blazers, and then the Knicks giving up their 2030 round 1 pick, in which Milwaukee gets the swap, and the 2032 round 1 pick where Milwaukee gets the swap. And then going to the Blazers, Mikal Bridges, and Gershon Yabusele. Your thoughts, man?
So he actually ended up expanding this to have the Bulls take on Karl Anthony Towns, and they give up picks. Mm-hmm. So essentially, the Knicks getting Giannis, it's going to come down to a couple things. The first is you got to get a couple more teams involved, because if the Bucks are trading Giannis, they're not going to be good. Getting OG Anunoby, getting Karl Anthony Towns or Mikal Bridges doesn't really make that much sense to them unless you're going to reroute those guys later. Mm-hmm. So that's number one. The more teams you get involved, the more of the things the Bucks would want they can get. Number two, with Portland, they're like exactly the type of team that would help facilitate, not just because of their desire to get these wings. They mentioned Mikal Bridges. I remember Chris Haynes reported right before they drafted Shaedon Sharpe that they were interested in trading the pick that they ended up using on him for OG Anunoby. So there's definitely, if the interest is still there, there's something to be done. Mm-hmm. And with that trade they did with the Bucks, trading them Damian Lillard, they now have control of the Bucks picks between 28 and 2030. So this is also a chance for the Bucks to get some control of their picks back. Maybe not all of them. The Blazers have other picks also they could offer. They could offer their own. They have an extra one by the Magic. So there's a lot of things aligning where the Blazers can be a facilitator. So as far as this trade works, and I'm sure it'd be even bigger, I think it's a pretty good start. The Bucks can get more picks this way. The Jeremy Grant, I think, seems like a very interesting piece where the Blazers would very certainly be trading him if they're bringing back Mikal Bridges or OG Anunoby. And I think if you're the Knicks, you're gonna want a wing back. So he's been better this year. It's still a negative value contract. Don't get me wrong. Like he's not gonna at all replace what either of the current wings they have give, but it's something, and the chances are they're gonna have to take back a bad contract like that in the process. So maybe it could work out really well. So I think this is just like the start of what the framework could look like. It's a good like starting point for sure.
So for Grant, how much years does he have left on his deal?
Grant's got 2 more after this, including the player option for 27, 28.
Got it.
So the Knicks would have then, you presumably extend Giannis. He'd be on the books for through 2031 or 2032, something like that. You have Brunson on the books through around then. Whoever you're keeping between Bridges or OG, I think Grant would be aligned pretty much with everybody else where it stands. So in the short term, it's fine. Just the biggest thing is can he make it work in the system that they have? You lose a little bit defensively, but the Knicks aren't exactly in the position where they could pick and choose exactly who they want to surround Giannis with the lack of tradable draft picks they have.
Right, and then in this scenario, you're looking at it as, okay, the Blazers get involved, the Bucks get more picks, including some of their own, which they lost control of in the Jrue Holiday trade, so that can kind of help them in their rebuild. You get a young player, good young player ready to play in Miles McBride. You get an all-star caliber player in Karl Anthony Towns. You get Dottier to throw in. Now, the last 2 Knick picks down there were under swaps. In this scenario, would this be more of a draft day type of trade, given that this is a 2030 and 2032 pick, in terms of what the Knicks are eligible to trade at this point versus when the new league year starts in the summer?
I would say more of a trade deadline trade, but a little of both, because right now, as things stand, they cannot trade their even-numbered picks just by the step-in rule because they trade all their odd-numbered picks. So they can trade those even-numbered picks now or later as swaps. But once you get to the offseason, this is why I think the Bucks are going to, no matter what, stretch this out until the offseason. Every team then opens up a new draft pick they could trade 7 years into the future. So it'd be 2033. The Knicks would be able to trade their 2033 first-round pick as well. Once you're on draft night, you can trade your 2026 pick as well. It's not going to be a very valuable one. It'll be in the 20s, but that's just another thing that the Knicks will be able to add to their package. So that's why I'm thinking no matter what, they're probably Bucks are going to stretch this. There is a way the Knicks could open up more first-round picks. It involves the Nets. I could get into that. It'd be a pretty crazy pick swap to try to get a deal done now. It's unlikely, but as the Nets owe us though. As time goes on, then it gets easier for the Knicks to put something together. More time to plan, and they get more stuff just by waiting to trade later.
All right, Justin, what do you think on the basketball, front? What do you think, man? When you look at this, man, Bridges, I think, first of all, Towns, Bridges, and say Deuce. I forget Yabusele, forget Dottie. Towns, Bridges, and Deuce. Out of here. You're getting Giannis and you're getting Jeremy Grant.
I think, first of all, shout out Jeremy Grant, Syracuse, the whole thing. First of all, I think from a basketball standpoint, having nothing to do what you think individually about the 3 players the Knicks are giving up, because they're all good players. Like, where you don't want to give those guys away for nothing. I've heard some people say, let's just dump Cat, or that doesn't make any sense.
You can't do that.
But in this trade, to get Giannis, if you want Giannis and you think Giannis is the piece, this is the best possible trade you can make. Because in my opinion, I said this when they made the Bridges trade, I never thought Bridges fit with this team. Dante was a much better fit with this roster because of the way he plays. Bridges, Hart, and OG are just too redundant with each other, which is why that lineup has never really worked great, even going back to last year. And I think he's almost like he's a good player, but he would be better suited with another team where he can excel and maximize his potential. I never thought he really fit with this Knicks roster. So I think with that, and I think actually Grant the Knicks, what could the Knicks use aside from Giannis is athleticism and kind of some speed. And I think Grant kind of sneakily gives them that, which might be better than what they have on the roster right now. Obviously, you hate to lose Deuce. Deuce is a great piece, and he's young, and he's on a good contract and all those things. But as they say, it's the cost of doing business. And I think for a trade like this, if you can get Giannis to pair with Jalen Brunson, and the Knicks don't really have, like Yossi correctly pointed out, they don't have a lot of ways to get this done, right? Like they're going to have to be creative with what they did with the previous trades with Cat and Mikal. This is like they have to really be very specific about how they're going to make a trade for Giannis if they can get it done. And I think three things have to be true. Giannis has to completely force his way to New York for them to even entertain this, even with multiple teams. Like I think Yossi said, Portland being involved is huge because then at least they get their swap rights back where they have control. Then if they want to tank, they can do that, which I think is a huge thing for them. And Portland has to still be very interested in Mikal because Mikal hasn't exactly helped his trade value the last 2 years. You know, if you're just looking off his Knicks tenure, he hasn't helped his trade value, right? Like, so I think in terms of the actual trade, I think any Knicks fan, you'd have to drive these guys to the airport if you get this trade done. I mean, let's just be real about it. That's kind of my thoughts.
Oh, man. You ready to trade Deuce, man? That's tough, bro.
I'm not.
That's
but
tough, man.
I think the thing is, which I think a lot of people still wonder, is like, even if this Knicks roster works great, are they good enough defensively with Cat and Jalen on the floor together? Like, I think that's always been the question since they made the trade in the first place. They haven't proved that yet. Even if everything works great, that's going to be an issue. So I think if Giannis wants to come here, and that's a huge factor, you, as you know, CP and Yossi, free agency doesn't really exist anymore in the NBA with this new CBA. So you're going to have to make a trade for someone. And the chances of a guy this quality, this caliber becoming available that the Knicks can trade for because he wants to go there is going to be so slim. So if you don't think this roster is the roster that can win a championship, then I think this is the deal. And look, there's concerns with Giannis and now his health with these calf injuries. I think that's a very valid thing for people that are against this trade, right? I think that's totally valid. But I'm of the belief of I think this Knicks team, if everything works out, they could get to the finals still. I believe that. I don't think they can win a championship with this roster. I don't think it's a great roster. And I think if you can get Giannis and not give up OG and not give up Jalen and still have enough depth, and you're bringing in Jeremy Grant in that case to provide that, I think it's worth doing at the end of the day.
I do like Grant coming back because my biggest thing is how did they supplement the depth that they lost. And in this one, you're losing Bridges, you're losing Deuce as well. So I think bringing back Jeremy Grant, who can help you on both sides of the ball, versatile as well, in terms of guarding the 3 and the 4, I think that would be great. I would probably do this, to be honest with you. I probably would. Now, the question is, you're bringing in Giannis. You talked about the calf injuries. Are you bringing him in to play the 5? Or are you bringing him in to play alongside Mitch at the 5? Then you're putting more tax on Mitch. Is that sustainable? I think we got to think about that.
I think you're right, and that's something I forgot to bring up. I don't think that front court works with Mitch and Giannis. There's not enough shooting on the floor there. They're going to be compromised from probably a spacing standpoint. You're going to have to really be, your other 3 guys in the court are going to have to be very good shooters at that point. You have Jalen there, obviously, but what is that going to look like? I think then you got to explore can you get another center in there? You know what I mean? Can you get a different center who can space the floor? That's why ultimately, I know this is never going to happen, Yossi. But Miles Turner would be an ideal get back in any trade because he is the perfect type of archetype center for them to put with this roster. He's a good defensive player, especially at the rim. He can stretch the floor. He's obviously a really good 3-point shooter, and he doesn't need the ball in his hands. So if you can you expand the deal to acquire a center like that? Because I think no matter how much CP loves Mitch, and I know that's your guy, the Blockbuster monster, the whole thing.
My guy. Yeah.
I think at this point we can see if he plays more than 20 minutes a game, he gets compromised from a health standpoint and even from just a stamina standpoint at this point in his career. I think he's best suited off the bench in a 20 to 25-minute role where he can wreak havoc. Some games he's going to close, some games he might not, but he's valuable in that role. I think they would still need a starting center to come in the deal elsewhere if they're getting rid of Cat. So I agree with you on that.
Yoshi, your thoughts? As he's saying, could a Turner get involved in this type of deal? I mean, for Milwaukee, if you're getting rid of Giannis, you really have no use for Miles Turner.
I think the Bucks will definitely look to trade Turner after, but
Yeah.
I'm not sure the Knicks will have enough left to get him as well. I think the Bucks will look to probably able to optimize the value for Turner in a separate deal. I think there's a very good chance that the Knicks might have to go into the following season if they get Giannis with him being like their starting center, if not playing a lot as their main big man. Because if they do any of these frameworks where they get Grant back, they're not getting back another big man. I don't know how I feel about starting Giannis with Mitch.
Yeah.
I get the feeling like I'm sure Mike Brown will try it, but I could see him just going away from that and just trying. We'll see how. I have a lot of offensive issues there, but maybe could work. Giannis is he's a lot more versatile than I think a lot of us might even give him credit for. So they might have to play a lot smaller though at times, and then they'll have to figure out how to get another big man later, which I think might dovetail well to one of the other things we should talk about. The fact that some of these names that other role players they've been linked to, Jose Alvarado, Yves Missi, Jeremy Sohan. The thing that all these guys have in common is they're making pretty small money for NBA standards. They make kind of like what Miles McBride is making.
Yeah.
And McBride making the amount of money he is so critical for the Knicks being able to sustain the level of depth that they have coming off their bench. So it's no coincidence that these guys are who they're hoping to get, guys under team control for at least another 1 year to help sustain what the Knicks have going right now. And that would help a lot if they end up doing a Giannis trade, because
It's a great
it's going to
point.
be hard to get. It's going to be hard to get depth, and it's going to be hard also if they do the trade next year. They would have to. The difference between doing it now and later is that if they do it now, they don't have to worry about the second apron next year. They can blow past it, re-sign Mitch, re-sign their minimum guys, not worry about that hard cap. Once you do it next offseason, you're aggregating, then you trigger that second apron hard cap. Now you're gonna have a budget. So I think the Knicks might be preparing for that scenario, which is why they might want to try to bring in some of these cheaper players now. So if they do need to bring in Giannis on a budget, they could at least have some semblance of depth. Hopefully keep Mitchell Robinson as well. He's really their big one free agent that they have to give like above minimum money to. So yeah.
So you're saying it would benefit the Knicks if they try to do this at the deadline versus in the offseason. But from a Milwaukee
100%,
from a Milwaukee standpoint, it would probably benefit them, because then you get to the offseason, you get to the new league year, you get another year of first-round pick that the Knicks can now put in a deal and get that back into Milwaukee. So now they have, some future draft capital to work with.
Yeah, and I think another reason for that is it could help them potentially not have to trade OG Anunoby. And that this might be a good point to load up my trade now, because mine features OG to the Blazers. And
okay,
yeah,
that's interesting.
We're loading it up. Here we go. This is your version of the trade. Here we go.
And by the way, Yossi, quick question too. If I'm not mistaken, Mikal can't be traded until like February 1st or 2nd anyway, right?
I think he's now trade eligible now. I
He
think
is now?
that restriction
Okay.
passed. I'm pretty sure or maybe not. Maybe it is like February 1st. So he'll be trade eligible.
Okay.
It's coming up.
So wait, hang on. Before you we go to OG on the Mikal thing. Speaking on that, the contract extension. How would that impact the trade if it's made at the deadline? Because he's technically, would that salary number be the number by February 1st, or is that still a next year or next offseason type of thing?
Oh yeah. So it would count as whatever he is now, like 24, 25. But if he's traded in the offseason, if it's in July, then he counts as his new number, which is 33.5. But I don't think that's too important.
Yeah.
So before I just want to say, I'm a huge fan of OG Anunoby. I love his game.
Yeah.
Love him.
I don't think it's really like a question. If the Knicks had to choose to keep one of them, you keep OG. But if they can do the trade now at the trade deadline, and you don't have to worry about the second apron next year, it's much easier to have Giannis on a max, OG making 40 something million, Brunson making as much as he is, and then you still have Hart. You can re-sign Mitch, fill out the rest of the roster. You're not worried about the second apron. That factors in also if they bring in another big contract like a Jeremy Grant. If you got to do it next year and now you're trying to budget the roster under the second apron, it's a lot easier to make that work with Mikal Bridges making 33 and a half versus OG making almost $10 million more.
That's right.
So like I made like I went through it. I made like a couple scenarios in my cap sheet lab, and that's the thing. Like, if I would rather keep OG, but if it comes to having to trade him, and partly because maybe the Blazers would want him more, and I would want him more, even though that contract, like, you can argue Bridges might be a better contract, but I think OG just like such a more impactful player. Then in the end, like, it's not that devastating, I suppose, when you consider that trading OG makes it easier to fill out the rest of the roster under those potential constraints. So the one I threw out, it's a 4-teamer. The Bulls are getting Cat. They send like a pick to the Bulls. I mean, the Bucks. The Bucks don't have to take back any bad money. And so pretty much everything else is similar, just with OGs going to the Blazers. Blazers are sending picks to the Bucks. Knicks get off their Frenchmen. And as you could see, I've got the Knicks also sending their swaps. I just want to touch on what I was saying earlier. This is like if it was a trade deadline deal. So if it was in the offseason, then they could trade 2 picks.
Right.
But there's a way like maybe they could do a deal with the Nets where, hey, Brooklyn, how about we give you our pick swaps in 2030 and 2032, and in exchange they give back picks in like the Knicks picks in 31, 29. Maybe they also Knicks swap their 26 and get their 27 back, and then now you could trade 28, 30, 32. They wouldn't be good picks, but that is just the way the Bucks can get extra picks. Make it seem like they got a higher raw number of picks. They could get like up to 6 first-round picks. It's unlikely. I don't know how the Nets would feel about something like that, trading picks for swaps. But that's just a way, like an unlikely way the Knicks could get more picks right now. I think, but because of difficulty in that, I think that's why it's most likely an offseason thing, once they can actually trade more of their own picks. So that's the thing. I'd love for the Knicks to, I think everyone would agree, like, you got to keep OG, but as we get closer to the offseason, then it might not work out that way, unfortunately.
All right, so in this one, ladies and gentlemen in the chat, rate this trade. So this one, the Knicks would get the depth back. You get Giannis, you get Jeremy Grant, you get Matisse Thybulle. You bring his brother in. Their package deal. You get Thanasis in for your cheerleader. So you got your end of the bench guy, your 15th guy for your cheerleading. You get some depth at the wing. But you're losing the dog, man. You got the dog going to the Blazers. Gary Trent Jr. going to the Blazers. First-round pick from the Bulls going to the Blazers as well, with the Bulls getting Karl-Anthony Towns, Gary Harris, Taurean Prince, and then the Bucks getting Nikola Vucevic, Patrick Williams, Yabusele, Esenge. You get Dadier, and then a boatload of picks. Justin, your thoughts, man? I can't lose a dog, man. I can't lose a dog, man.
This would be tougher for me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah.
Because I think the difference between Mikal and OG is OG has one very elite skill. Mikal is like a good all-around player, but I don't think he has an elite skill that you say, okay, he can win us a game with this. Like OG's on-ball defense, his size to be able to guard anyone on the floor, except maybe a Tyrese Maxey. Everyone else he can pretty much handle. That's something that, especially bringing in Giannis. Giannis, as good a defender as he is, he's not known for his on-ball defenses. He is more of like a free safety on the floor. So I think that you lose your best on-ball defender. You don't really have someone to replace that. That would be very tough, I think, to lose if I'm the Knicks. And I would have to think much harder about that than I would about the Bridges deal. I think the Bridges deal, ultimately, I think you would have to make, if you like Giannis, unless you think this team can win a championship. If you don't, then I think you got to make that deal. The OG trade is just like, man, the dog, like,
I can't
and he isn't, and I'm telling you this, by the way, without him having even played well for a while. He's been he's been pretty below average for his standards up until the Sixers game, before that. So I think that's how much he means to this team. And you saw when he was traded over to the Knicks, he completely transformed the team by himself. Remember when he first was traded, the Knicks were like 12-1 before Julius got hurt. And they looked like a totally different team from what they were before. He has been kind of the guy that when he goes, the Knicks go, right? And I think when you lose that, I would have a lot of trouble doing that. I think I would have enough confidence in my negotiation skills to convince the Blazers to take Mikal and let's keep OG in the fold. That's how it look. And the last thing I would say to Yossi, I would be absolutely shocked. And I would tell you this, I would shut down the shot clock page the day the Nets agreed to help the Knicks with a trade. I just don't see them saying, hey, you know what? We'll give you, unless it's better for them by a decent amount. Hey, we'll give you a couple of these picks back and we'll take a couple swaps. The day that happens, the shot clock will cease to exist. That's kind of the way I look at it. Even though it's creative and good, that's how I feel.
That's how it costs us the 5 picks. They're tough. Yep. Tough customer to do business with, but tough partner to do business with. But, look, man, I think if I'm doing a Giannis deal, I'm bringing him in because I want to see him and OG create havoc out there on the court. You know what I mean? I need OG here. We saw, just look at the Philadelphia game. Whenever he gets an expanded role, whether you like the turnovers or not, he's got the dog in him. He wants to go for his team. Whenever he gets the rock, he always wants to get it done. That is the difference between OG and Mikal Bridges. You don't have to ask OG to be aggressive. He's going to be aggressive. And like I said, he might lose the ball in the process, but I'd rather go with that mindset, that mentality, the confidence that he has in the offensive end. Forget the defense. That's his staple, right? That's his calling card. We know that. But offensively, man, especially if you're going to lose Towns, who is an offensive threat, at least his archetype, you still need to have some sort of semblance of shot creation, not just from the inside like Giannis will give you and dominate at the rim, because I think that's sorely lacking on this Knicks team, but the three-point shooting from OG and everything in between. And then, like I said, defensively, those two guys with Mitch, I got to see how that looks defensively, man. You're not getting inside. You're not getting any good looks with those three guys in the court.
If the Knicks can get Giannis for Cat and Mikal and just 2 picks, executive of the year.
I know he's a statue. Forget executive of the year. He gets a statue in front of the Garden if that happens. For
sure.
That's how great that's how shrewd that would be.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you guys. I hope if they can keep OG on top of that, that's a fleece. But we'll see. Hopefully for Knicks fans' case, the Blazers see OG's contract as negative value or something, that they prefer Mikal. We'll see. Based on the reactions, we all know OG is way more valuable, way more impactful. Hopefully the Knicks can keep him. That would be it'd be hard to move, but there is a reality they might have to trade him to get Giannis.
One thing to add too, you obviously, the cap, trade so well, you're an expert in that. I'm a dog expert. And I feel like the one thing the Knicks need, and I'm curious to what you guys think about this. I've said this really since they made the Mikal trade. They lost Dante and they lost Isaiah. I feel like they have too many guys on their team that I'd let date my sister. That's how I put it. You know what I'm saying? They have too many nice guys on this team. You need to, Giannis, even though he's a great player, he's a dog. You bring in someone like that and you let go of some of this. You look at the Bane play when he threw the ball off of OG. No one came to his aid. No one got in anyone's face.
Giannis is checking that. Giannis is checking the temperature on that.
Same thing with Draymond. The Draymond situation a few games ago. Same thing. There's not enough. And I think teams look at the Knicks, especially when they're not going well, and they say, this team's soft. We can get in their heads and we could push them around. I think more so than anything, whether it's the Giannis trade, I think Alvarado could help that. They need to bring some dog onto this team.